All right, let's get right into it. If you've ever tried to use AI for some really serious research, you know the pain. It's just chaos. Ideas get lost, code disappears, and trying to connect all the dots feels like a total nightmare. Well, today, we're looking at a tool designed to fix exactly that. It's called ResearchClaw, and it's not just another app. The goal here is to be the operating system for your entire AI research process.
And this quote right here, it absolutely nails the core problem. You know the feeling? You have a great little breakthrough in a chat with an AI, you run a quick script in the terminal, and then an hour later, it's gone. Poof. It's like it never even happened. That's the pain point anyone doing complex, long-term work with AI tools feels right in their bones.
So how do we get out of this mess? Well, the solution is all about reframing the entire process. On the left, you see the world we all know. Work just vanishing into chat logs, tools all over the place, and no clean way to hand off tasks between them. But on the right, you see the ResearchClaw way, a persistent, unified system that keeps track of everything, your projects, tasks, artifacts, all your evidence, all in one place. And this is where we get to the big idea. See, the creators don't just see this as another tool you use. They see it as a foundational operating system for research. Seriously, think of it like Windows or Mac OS. But instead of managing your files and apps, it's managing the entire lifecycle of your research, from that first spark of an idea all the way to the final paper.
Okay, so here's the official definition. Let's just unpack that a bit. Local first is awesome. It means your data stays with you on your machine. Structured research workflow runtime, that's the magic part that brings order to the chaos. But the key phrase, the whole reason this exists, is making long-horizon research work durable. This isn't for asking a quick question. It's for projects that last weeks or even months. And let's be super clear, this is not just another chat wrapper.
That is the million-dollar question, right? I mean, it's one thing to promise you're going to organize everything, but how do you actually do it when research, by its very nature, is messy and unpredictable? The answer is in a really smart architectural choice. And here it is. This is the secret sauce. Instead of just giving you a flat timeline of chats and files, ResearchClaw builds what it calls a claims/evidence graph. The best way to picture this is like a detective's evidence board, but it's better because it's not just clues pinned to a corkboard. Every single item is connected by a string that explicitly tells you why it's relevant to the case. This graph is the foundation for everything else. So, what's actually on this graph? Well, it connects all the things that actually matter in a research project. So, your personal notes are literally tied to the specific chunks of a PDF you were reading. Your experiments are directly linked to the claims they're supposed to be testing. It's brilliant. It means every piece of information has a clear, meaningful relationship to everything else. The system doesn't just know what you did, it knows why you did it. Okay, so a graph sounds great in theory, but how does that actually help you in your day-to-day work? That's where the structured workflow comes into play. See, ResearchClaw doesn't just hand you a blank canvas and say, good luck. It gives you a clear, 9-stage pipeline that guides you from start to finish. You start with a literature search, you move through reading and synthesizing notes, you plan your experiments, run them, analyze the results, all the way to writing and review. The system always knows exactly what stage you're in and what needs to happen next. And to make all this happen, it comes packed with a whole suite of built-in tools. And these aren't just toys, you know? These are the real deal utilities every researcher needs. You've got tools to search academic papers, manage your BibTeX citations, check your LaTeX files, and even run shell commands, all right there, fully integrated into the OS.
Now let's zoom out for a second, because ResearchClaw isn't an island. It's actually part of a much bigger vision for AI agents called the OpenClaw ecosystem. And understanding where it fits in is key to really getting why it's so powerful.
Think of it as a 3-layer stack. At the very bottom, you have OpenClaw, which is the general-purpose AI agent platform. Then in the middle, you have ResearchClaw, the thing we've been talking about. It adds that critical, structured layer just for research. And then, sitting on top of all that, you can build incredibly powerful applications, like a fully autonomous agent called AutoResearchClaw. Now, this distinction is super important, so you don't get them confused. ResearchClaw is the foundation. It's the operating system. It provides the structure and makes sure nothing gets lost. AutoResearchClaw, on the other hand, is a specific application that's built on top of that foundation. It's the agent that can take a single idea and autonomously generate an entire paper, but it can only do that because it has that stable OS running underneath it. And that really is the main takeaway here. Without a structured layer like ResearchClaw, trying to build reliable, complex AI agents is like trying to build a skyscraper on sand.
It's just not going to work. This foundation is what lets us finally create more advanced and, maybe even more importantly, more dependable AI applications.
But does this whole structured thing actually work in practice? Let's look at some cold, hard data. This number comes from an experiment with a system called MetaClaw, which was designed to let the AI learn from its own mistakes over time.
And here's what they found. An 18.3% improvement in what they call a composite robustness score. So what does that even mean? It means fewer retries, more efficient problem solving. Basically, the AI got better and more reliable. This is hard evidence that when you give an AI a structured way to remember and learn from its work, it gets significantly better at its job. For a researcher, that means less time hitting dead ends and more time making progress. That's the real promise of ResearchOS.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. For decades, we've been the ones who had to provide the structure and the memory for our tools. But what happens if the tools can now do that for themselves? If they can build their own knowledge graphs and remember their own journey? What does that free us up to do? What new, bigger, more complex questions can we finally start to ask now that our AI partners can actually remember the conversation?